Welcome to Modern Homestead, Alaska. I am Jessica. What an incredible thing we have in store. No matter how this video turns out, we are actually outside in the garden. It has been over a week of solid torrential rainstorms. I am so exhausted with it, and I need to check out and see what is going on in the garden. And for sure, we're gonna harvest anything we can, regardless of whether it goes together or not. Let's go. If you've been with our channel for a while, I would like to thank you for showing up time and time again. You are greatly appreciated. If you're new around here, let me introduce myself for just a second. I've been doing this throughout the challenge, just so those that are new know what they have in store and what our channel is and about. We are a family on a working modern homestead in South Central Alaska. We have livestock. We have a garden, but we also share our adventures, whether that's hunting and fishing. Also, all of the building projects. We actually built this homestead, and those who have followed for a while know they've been able to watch the garden process from the first year until the third, and it is substantial. It is extremely different than how it all began. We obviously have chickens as well. I hope you guys choose to join the channel. Let's get into the video. I've actually decided to start, as much as I want to be outside in the north greenhouse, I have this giant bag of tomato clips. We're gonna need that. And I've made a very difficult decision. I'm going to cull all of the squash plants on this side over here. So squash is really not meant to be grown indoors. And they did well for what they did. We sure learned a ton. If there's any good fruit on them, I will grab that. If not, no worries. We have so much squash that did survive in the garden, and what I was worried was what was in the garden wasn't actually going to survive. And this has just become really, really difficult. So instead of fighting any longer with the squash inside of here, I need to give the peppers that are doing well more space. So I'm going to just take anything I can, but let me show you. Just all of them are kind of molding. Here's one decently tiny zucchini. I'll keep him. But this one, blossom and rot throughout the plant. They just don't get enough airflow. Not only that, they don't get pollinated the way they should. And it just has been a no-go. So what we learned here in Alaska is when it comes to growing squash, pumpkins, anything along those lines, you need to seed start them indoors. I did seed start cucumbers twice, and they either I had a bad batch of seeds or whatever, but I didn't get any cucumber plants this year, but I got a ton of different zucchinis and squash. And so we're just gonna save the dirt because it's a very good, very expensive garden soil that we get from a local place. So we'll save all of our buckets. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it grew this beautiful squash, but it's rotten on the end, and then the whole thing's frustrating. I have beautiful peppers down here near the floor. They are doing great. So let's switch and have something that's growing top. So I do have some vining ones down here. I am going to see if I can move any of these outside. Let's see. Can I find you? Oh, that was you. Got him. That seriously, oh, that looks 100 times better. I can now get to the tomatoes behind me. I keep some gardening stuff out here that I like to grab, some fertilizers and things like that for the garden because I don't have a garden shed yet. So I think in this little nook over here, I'm going to store all my stuff, and then I have easy access to all these plants. 10 out of 10 to be in here. The warmth, the sun is so, I'm sweating. To just reset what I did and to be able to see what needs to be done. Are you kidding me? If that was all I did today, I have accomplished something that was really, really weighing heavy on my heart. And my mind was like, I need to get out there. I need to get out there. And it is dumping rain and I can't get out there. And now just to be able to see each individual plant and start assessing what they need to reach them. Oh, okay. So I have some work to do in here. Here's what I'm going to be doing. I need to figure out a way to trellis up these tomatoes that just kind of have sticks in them. And I may tie them to here. And then the other thing is the tomatillos behind me. They definitely are starting to really lay down. They need some help. I am going to just deal with all of this. I just pop in a podcast, listen to something, watch a video, or listen to a video, crawl around and get this done. So I'm just going to pop this on time lapse and get done in the garden, or get done in this greenhouse. Honestly, let me step out of the way. That is exciting. It feels invigorating, I guess, to have it just all cleaned up and tidy. That is so much work, believe it or not. I just trimmed the bottom leaves so that there's good airflow. I'm really not having very many issues with the tomatoes, and they are producing a ton of tomatoes. Every plant, I think, has fruit on it, and that is fantastic. Tons and tons. Some of the shells or the husks on the tomatillos are like this big. So it is fantastic to look out and see the floor. Just look down. I just raked up to have everything out of the way, to have it clear. It just so nice. I can just come in, I can see what's going on, I can address things more quickly. I did check on the other greenhouse, we won't go in there today. It's fantastic. I did do all of that work, and then this one needed to be worked on. And now this one will take some time, and that one will need to be worked on next. And it's just a constant travel around. But this is the Every Bit Counts challenge. So let's see what we can harvest. I'm just going to start with the celery and the cauliflower. I pulled this head. I pulled a couple over Sunday family dinner. They're starting to flower, look like flowers, but there's a bunch of them that are really, really tight, but they're small. I'll show you if I can get to this guy here. Celery. What am I saying? Cauliflower. Look at that. That's a beauty. We'll take that in. I'm going to trim off a bunch of any of the good broccolis, and then anything that's flowered, I'm going to leave it because I can literally hear the bees buzzing. We're going to let them have it, the flowered ones, but we're going to trim off anything that's good. I think I'm going to look for a couple of big heads of cabbage and then kind of open some space for the rest of them to really get bigger. Like that. Look how beautiful that is. Look at that. It's so firm. It's so beautiful. I love it. So I'm going to pull the outer leaves till they're like this. And then I'm going to feed the outer leaves. I want to show you. There's only damage on this one leaf. And that could have been something got on it and rotted or whatever. So everything is doing pretty good as far as bugs. In the open garden, so we pull these, and rabbits and chickens will enjoy them for sure. And then I'm not carrying all of this in the house in order to carry it back out of the house. So this was like a tall, firm one. I'm reaching. I don't know if that's the kind of cabbage, but it'll work. Oh, that's pretty, huh? What a pretty little cabbage. Oh, man. Okay, first load I'm going to take over to the rabbits. So just this harvest is my largest cabbage harvest to date. And I have so much more out there. My garden has just been prolific this year in comparison to years past. I'm just gonna pull a few more leaves off, check for bugs, look for worms, all of those things, slugs, and then I'm gonna cut the bottom, and then I'm going to cut it in half, and I am going to rinse the cabbage and then turn it upside down and let it drain. I love fresh cabbage. I'm looking up ways to preserve it a little different than what we're doing even today. I love it roasted. I love it boiled. So they're not super tight on the inside. I obviously don't know that much about growing cabbages if this was my largest harvest, but I am interested, and I will over the winter be doing quite a bit of reading to try and figure some of that out. That's beautiful. Look at that. The cabbages drain, I'm just going to take the hard little middle out, and I was going to use the food processor, but there's no sense in cleaning that. I'm just going to slice through the cabbages. An old-fashioned sauerkraut is wonderful and simple. It simply is cabbage and salt. So we're gonna just keep going, dice up all of these. You can do it in any size pieces that you want. This is gonna be wonderful on brats as a side dish. The way that we do it with the salt brine and not using a heat or canning method, but using the fermentation of the cabbage and the salt makes it a gut healthy food. And you can just throw it on the side with breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever you want. So just keep slicing each cabbage. And none of the scraps go to waste around here. We have so many animals that are happy to devour and eat up whatever is left over. Not just the people get fed around here, everything gets fed. today was a good day for fermenting. It's not something we've done yet in the challenge, and I would like to touch on as many different preservation methods as we can over the month. And I think fermenting is often overlooked, and I think what the problem with it is you look at something frozen or canned that has a really long shelf life, where something fermented isn't going to last years. I mean, there's some things that they ferment that does, but we're looking at this as being just several months kept in a refrigerator or cold room storage. This sauerkraut, after you do the countertop ferment, can last for months. However, it's not dry storage. It's not like the other things, and so I think it gets overlooked, and it just definitely shouldn't. I think it's a good way to preserve food and then add those health benefits in especially the winter months. And then as you come into spring and things start blooming again, you're able to get the fresh things back in your diet. But this is definitely a preservation method we should be utilizing quite a bit more often. So for each head, we're going to do about 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. I think mine are pretty small, so I'm actually just going to start with 2 tablespoons. I don't like the feeling of it under my ring, so I'm going to take that off. And we are going to begin smashing the cabbage. So just gently incorporating the salt. And here in a minute, this cabbage is going to give up so much moisture. It's best to make sauerkraut straight from the garden. You do have to store cabbage in the refrigerator. Sorry, there's people coming in. It is good stuff. So after just a couple of minutes of just rolling it around, you want to taste it and see if you like the salt content. I've been eating it, so obviously I do. Now I'm just going to smash and rub for about 10 minutes. I'll bring you back and show you what the sauerkraut turns into. Hi babe, come in. Everyone come in. All right, I got the first batch smashed down, and I cut up the rest of the heads, and I added just 1 more tablespoon. And now the bowl is full again, but I've managed to get every bit of cabbage in the bowl. So I'm going to smash this one into the other one so that I'm only really making 1 batch. But the one underneath is super smashed down right now. I think sauerkraut's the best when it's just cabbage and salt. Okay, so we're gonna work on this, and then after smashing this 5-7 minutes or so to incorporate it, I'm gonna let it set for 10 minutes before we jar it. We really want the cabbage to give up as much moisture as possible, because that is the liquid that we're going to use to cover the sauerkraut with so that it's not molding. And that's what keeps the fermentation process and then keeps the cabbage from molding or going bad on the countertop as it goes through. So, things you might need, you can use the stems. I have weights, so we'll use the fermentation weights that I have. It is giving up liquid, but not quite enough. But the fact it's rained so much and this cabbage has so much moisture in it, we're looking to give up that moisture and then add it back in. I hope that kind of makes sense. Let me work on this for a few minutes. All right, I've cleaned up, and what you can see here is there's a bunch of liquid. And so I just smashed it until the liquid's about halfway up. I'm now just gonna throw this clean towel that I just dried my hands with over it and let it sit for about 10 minutes. We're gonna smash it one more time and then put it in jars and just sits on the countertop. How easy is that? I'll bring you back in about 10 minutes. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. We're just gonna give it another good smash. And now it's really getting a lot more packed in there. See if it has enough. Okay, so what we want to do is start putting it in the jars. So you put in a handful, and we don't want any air, so we smash down and add some more. And then we keep going. Okay, there's one. So the rest should fit in a pint. Then we're going to cover them over with the salt brine. All right, I am trying to get dinner on the way, so what you can do is just use a leaf, and it's gonna make a mess. But what we wanna do is keep all the cabbage underneath the brine. And then we're gonna set this in a pie dish. I do have to go to the basement to get the plastic lids, but we're going to use plastic lids on these and not canning lids, so we don't have a reaction. But with these are fermentation weights, and we knew we were gonna spill. That's all right. So we want to use the weight to push the cabbage down, and then the brine is what sits on top. Perfect. And so I didn't have to make any additional brine because my cabbage gave off so much liquid. And now it'll bubble over a little the next couple of days, and we'll just keep it in a pie pan. Hang on, I'll show you. All right, I ran to the basement. We'll see. I have enough pie pans, but we'll start with these two, Just put the plastic lids on like barely finger tight because they are going to bubble up and have a reaction over the next couple of days. And there we have it, sauerkraut. All right, I have to move on and make dinner for my family. I sure enjoyed having you here with me in my garden and my kitchen today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, would you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button? If you ring the bell, you'll get notifications. I do hope that you have a fantastic week ahead of you. Find something to preserve, something to dig out of the freezer, something to pull out of a yard. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Just do something small. With that, I hope you're blessed. I hope you find something to be grateful for, and I will see you in the next video. See you tomorrow.